Hey, Astra Kids, and welcome back. This is your weekly horoscope for March 15th through March 21st. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. So, mainly for this week, what we're going to discuss is the moon's transit. It is, of course, finishing off in Bara, where we had that new moon. So I hope everyone had a great new moon, a lot of opportunities to be more creative, to be more focused on moving forward and getting things moving with this inspiration tapped into this Pisces energy, and this Bhadrapada Nakshatra is focused all on the mission, all on the purpose. And so this has been a huge new moon about standing up for a cause, focusing on a mission, standing for your purpose in life. And so we're coming into this week, finishing off with the moon here in Pisces in this Bhadra Nakshatra. Now, we're going to shift into Ravati here on the 15th of March. And so this is where we get this fish energy, where this becomes more about tapping into the deeper recesses of the mind. Here, as the moon is shifting into Ravati, this is a great time to tap even deeper into your psyche, to pull even more inspiration and depth. And a lot of times, as we're coming through this moon here in Ravati, there's this daydreaming, this feeling of drifting. And so a lot of you can feel this, especially if you are tapped into your spiritual life, into your imagination. This becomes a great time to meditate, to reflect, a lot of deep insight that you can pull up through this nakshatra. So this is a great time, again, as we're entering into this week with all of this Piscean energy with the moon's transit, a lot that we can tap into. The moon, of course, is representing the mind. And so there's a lot here that we can tap into with this deep Piscean energy, tapping into inspiration, tapping into our imagination, tapping into this deeper level of knowledge. From there, on the 16th of March, the moon will finish out in Ravati and will switch over to Ashwini. And so this is a great time to start pushing ahead. All of these ideas, all of these inspiration that you've collected through this moon transit through Pisces, now it's time to start applying this. As we come into Ashwini, this is the nakshatra that starts off the zodiac in the sign of Aries. And so there's this straightforwardness. If we think about a horse, this energy, this drive, this passion to initiate towards our goals. And so this becomes a great time to be more active in pushing towards the things that you want to accomplish, taking that inspiration, that deep insight that you're able to pull through this moon in Pisces and apply it towards the task, towards the goals, towards the mission that you are trying to accomplish. This energy is very dynamic, very forceful, very much about taking the initiative. And so this becomes a great time for this. And if you are a person who enjoys being outdoors, doing different activities, this could potentially be a good time to be more active, to get more into things that exert your energy. So as you're coming into this moon in Ashwini, some of you feeling more active, feeling more energetic, feeling more alive, where you have this push, you have this initiative to go after the things that you want. Following this, on the 17th of March, the moon is going to shift from Ashwini into Bharani. And so this is this creative energy, tapping into those creative energies and putting it to use. Again, there's this push as we come into this week of March of using these creative ideas, using the inspiration, using the deeper insight that you're able to pull through from your imagination, from your spiritual world, and applying this physically towards the task that you want to accomplish. This is happening in the sign of Aries, And so there's a lot of energy, a lot of force, a lot of drive that we can use and pull from as we're coming into this week here. There is a lot of this creative energy and potential. And so the question becomes, are you going to use this energy and potential to strive towards your goals? Are you going to be active and take that initiative? Are you going to actually make something happen? And there is something very strong about this Bharani Nakshatra that is about fertility, that is about this creative life force, this ability to give birth to something new. And so, what is it that you want to bring into existence? What goal, what vision, what is it that you want to accomplish coming into this week? Using that fire, that passion, that ambition of Aries, that determination, that willpower to really mold and create and bring those things forth into existence. And so, a lot of manifestation potential coming into this week. But you really have to be willing to use this, to go for this, to use this energy and force. This is something where, are you going to hold yourself back from this experience, or are you going to actually tap into this? And on the 17th of March, we also have Venus shifting into Pisces. And so, again, there's so much of this creative energy, so much of this beautiful energy that we can tap into to make things happen. Venus is exalted in the sign of Pisces. So this becomes a very strong area. And I will talk more about this Venus and Pisces transit, where I'll go into some of the aspects and how this will affect all of us more in depth in tomorrow's video. But essentially, Venus is exalted here in the sign of Pisces. So this becomes an area where we can tap into that divine energy, that creative force that lives within us all. Again, Pisces is very daydreamy, very imaginative, very much tapped into spirituality and deep philosophy. This bottom of the ocean of going deeper, diving into things. This is the deepest sign. And Venus here being exalted, this divine love, this divine appreciation, this divine creativity that we can tap into and use is really special and really creative coming into this week. And there's a question here of whether you are tapped into that divine, whether you're able to meditate or to reflect or to journal and to pull through these ideas. A lot of us needing to tap more into our spiritual or creative side, where we're able to pull through this energy of this Venus and Pisces. And again, I'll talk more about this. Pisces, of course, is where the ego has been destroyed, right? We break that ego in the sign of Aquarius. And then Pisces becomes this very selfless and very gentle sign that is very much in tune with the universe and divine love. And so this becomes a huge area where even the qualities of Venus itself becomes very refined, right? Venus usually is about our desires, our sexuality, our sensuality, our love, the things that bring us that peace, that joy in our lives. And when Venus comes into the sign of Pisces, this becomes more about divine love, right? This is less about the love of material things, less about the love of the things of this world, but love unconditionally, love in a divine way, love in a unifying way. And so there's something huge as we come into this Venus and Pisces of this selflessness, this caring, this gentleness, this compassion, this divine unity of us all being connected as one, merged with the collective, with the universe, right? As we get into the depths of Pisces, this strong universal energy and spirituality that is connected into this is very deep. And so we'll talk more about that again as we get into that Venus in Pisces transit. Now, on the 18th of March, the moon will shift from Bharani into Kritika. And so now we get into this knife energy of this cutting into things, right? Cutting through the BS and getting to the responsibility, getting to the goals. There needs to be a focus here. There needs to be this cutting edge of being able to dive into things, right? And this nakshatra is between Aries and Taurus. So we have this stability, this focus, and we have this willpower and drive. And so this is about, again, cutting through the surface level things, cutting through the distractions, cutting through the things that are holding you back and getting straight to the point, getting straight to the mission towards the goal. And so, again, a lot of energy here towards getting towards our purpose, getting things done, really pushing through, not holding back. For those of you who are holding back, there is this resistance towards what you can actually accomplish, right? Many who are sitting back on the sidelines waiting, you have this great potential to make something happen in this space. But if you're going to wait, right? Aries is about initiating. It is that first sign, stepping into the action, getting it done. So if you're sitting back on the sidelines, you are doing a disservice, and especially depending on where this is in your chart, especially for those of you who have a fire sign, fire rising, or fire moon. This becomes a huge area where you have this potential to step into making things happen. So we'll talk more about that when we get into the actual signs and how this is affecting you personally in your chart. On the 19th, the moon shifts from Kritika to Rohini. So again, this creative force, this push, a lot of this energy here this week is about using your creativity, driving towards your goals, pushing towards the success, getting the things done, right? And even though this is here in the sign of Taurus, remember that we have Rahu, we have Mars here in Taurus. And so as the moon comes and meets up with Rahu and with Mars, there's a lot of energy, a lot of willpower, a lot of passion to really strive towards those goals and accomplishments. Rahu really enjoys being here in the sign of Taurus because remember that Rahu is that head. It is the head without the body, this desire, this never ending desire for more, this hunger for more. And so this becomes about going after your goals, accomplishing things, this future oriented type of energy with Rahu. And it really enjoys being in Taurus because Taurus is connected to the five earthly senses, right? Taurus is connected to the material plane. And so there's a lot here in terms of reaching and striving for your material goals, getting these things done. And especially with Mars in there, this passion, this drive, this initiative, even though Taurus is slower and it neutralizes Mars, there's still this drive and determination to Mars and Taurus, right? Taurus is that stubborn sign that doesn't back down. And so we're still pushing, we're still going, we're still moving, maybe a little bit slower, but the job is still getting done with this Mars and Taurus energy. And so there's a lot here again in terms of getting towards your goals, getting the job done, getting what you want to accomplish in order. And especially as we're coming into the spring season, a lot of this energy now that again is about the creativity, that is about pushing things, moving things, making possibilities happen. Again, we're here in this Sun in Pisces timeline where this is about the creative energy, the divine spark, the imagination, the inspiration, tapping into those deeper parts of the mind and really manifesting those things, bringing them into reality. Now, lastly, from there on the 20th, the moon is going to shift into Marikshara and it will continue in this position into the 21st. And so with the moon in Mixera, this is really a time of this single focusedness, right? This single mindedness, this focus, this tunnel vision of going towards your task, right? As we get into this nakshatra, we get into the deer in the forest, this search, this hunt for our goals, for our accomplishments in isolation. And so it's really about this single mindedness, this focus, not being distracted, not being pulled away from your task. But how can you get it done? How can you stay on top of your goals? And of course, there's always that negative side of Marixera that is all about disconnecting. And of course, this is going to take us into Gemini, right? Mixera is between Taurus and Gemini. And so the Taurus side of this nakshatra, very focused, very much driven. As we get into the Gemini side, there is some issue here in terms of the the energy being very scattered, right? And this becomes very difficult where we see a lot of people with this position who are very isolated, who are very detached from connection, because the connection within itself is a distraction. It is something that pulls the focus away. And so I would say coming into this nakshatra that a huge focus here should be a balance. It should be a balance between your interaction and your work life. Because what happens here is this becomes very isolated, this becomes very disconnected, where we're pulling away from the things happening in reality to try to focus on this goal, this mission, this task. And so this week here ultimately is about creativity. It's about manifestation. It's about bringing your imagination, bringing your inspiration, bringing your dreams, your goals into reality, making it happen, stepping up, doing the job, getting the task done. So let's go ahead and jump into the signs. Now, if you have a fire moon or a fire ascendant, this is for you. And let's go ahead and start with those of you who have an Aries moon or Aries ascendant. So if you have an Aries moon or Aries ascendant, that means we're starting this week off with the moon in your 12th house. And so there's a lot here in terms of, again, this creativity, this imagination that a lot of you are tapped into, and you bring being able to bring this out into reality, being able to get some results out of this. And so some of you can even acquire some wealth coming into this, but a lot of you are focused very much on your work coming into this, pulling out your inspiration, your ideas, and bringing it into reality. The moon from the 12th is aspecting the 6th house. And so work becomes a huge focus coming into this. Now, you want to pay attention to your health as well. There's something big to say for those of you with an Aries moon or Aries ascendant about, are you so focused on your goals, your ambitions, your imagination, and pulling that out into your work life that you're also not fully taking care of yourself? Some of you very restless in terms of your sleep and wake cycles. There can be some fluctuation there with the moon back in the 12th. And so this can be a really good time for you to make sure that you're taking full care of your goals, your tasks, your daily routine, making sure that your health is in check. And so, for those of you who are working hard, who are focused on the task, focus on how you can collaborate, pull your ideas, pull inspiration out, this is a good time to also make sure that you're getting the proper rest, making sure that you are in the proper state of mind. A lot of anxiety, a lot of distress, a lot of anxiousness, a lot of insomnia can happen with this transit here. Now, from there, the moon is going to shift into your first house. And so, this is really going to make you very much more empathetic, more sensitive, more idealistic. A lot of you being able, again, to pull these ideas out into the forefront, to express this. And so, this can be very good as far as collaborating, as far as working in teams. The moon from your first house is aspecting your seventh house of partnerships. And so a lot of you will want to express your ideas. You'll want to express the things that are coming up with your partner, whether this is a business partnership, whether this is a marriage, a friendship, whatever the case may be. This becomes a very social time for a lot of you, where you want to bring up these ideas, you want to bring up these feelings in terms of what you want to make happen, what you want to make possible during this week. And the moon will end up in that third house where, I'm sorry, the second house, where this becomes a great time once again to get results out of this inspiration, these ideas that you have, these visions that you are getting with the moon starting off there in your 12th house. And so a lot of you can do very well in business coming into this week as you're able to pull these ideas out into the forefront. A lot of wealth that you can acquire. Now, also with the moon sitting here in your second house, you want to be careful with your eating habits. Again, a lot of you are going to be very active. You're going to have a lot of ideas, a lot of focus on work. And so there is this feeling of being on the go or having to make decisions very quickly, where some of you can have bad eating patterns coming into this week. So you want to focus on this area. You can also see some fluctuations in your wealth, though. And again, a lot of you can see increase here. You want to be careful of any sort of impulse spending, with the moon being a very emotional planet coming into this second house. But for the most part, you can see a lot of gains coming through. The moon is going to be aspecting over to your eighth house of shared resources. A lot of wealth that you can pull out of others during this time. And so this becomes a very interesting area for you. The moon is your fourth house ruler, so it is a good planet for you. Now, Venus is also going to be sitting back in your 12th house. Again, a lot of creative insight, a lot that you can pull from, with Venus being a very creative planet, being very much about art and design and inspiration, this creativity that you can tap into, that you can pull out. Again, this is in your 12th house of your subconscious. You can pull this out of your imagination. You can pull this inspiration out. And so this can be a great time for journaling. This could be a great time for meditation. For some of you, this can be a really great time for walking or pacing. This is something that comes through to me for those of you with an Aries moon or ascendant, that as you're walking or pacing, getting that energy moving, this is pulling ideas out to the forefront. Now, for those of you who have a Leo moon or Leo ascendant, we're starting this week off with the moon in your eighth house. And so, a lot of you following off of that last week, going through a lot of changes, a lot of ups and downs in your life that are really helping you to transform in a big way. Again, we talked about last week how there's a huge focus here in terms of your career or moving up, where a lot of things are fluctuating and changing, where you are able to transform yourself through this. From there, the moon is going to be aspecting over to your second house. So you can see some fluctuations in wealth, but primarily in shared resources coming into this week. With the moon looking over at that second house, there's a lot that you can gain through others coming into this week. The moon from there is also going to shift over into your ninth house. You may find yourself more connected to teachers and mentors and people that you can gather some greater insight from, as the moon's shifting into this ninth house of wisdom and philosophy. A lot that you can learn and gain that, again, is going to help you level up in a big way in your career, in your business. And the moon here in the ninth house really is going to make you more so changing and shifting in your beliefs. And so there's a lot here that you can gain and learn that can completely change the way that you think. And as the moon ends up in that 10th house, again, this really makes a huge impact on your career. There's a lot that you can achieve and accomplish during this week as the moon is going through these three houses. From there, the moon is going to aspect over to your third and fourth house. And so you can see some dissonance in your personal connections. There's a lot of focus as far as your career or as far as learning, progressing, moving forward, this growth that is happening here. And so there can be a little bit of an abstinence from your actual connections where you feel a little bit of a distance there. You feel the ground beneath you that is shifting and changing as you're starting to move up as far as career, make different decisions and choices as far as your goals and aspirations. A lot that is changing you internally. And especially as we come to the 17th, when Venus shifts into Pisces in its exaltation there in your eighth house, there's a lot changing in terms of your creative vision, in terms of the ideas that you can pull through, the things that you can accomplish and work through. And with Venus controlling this, I'm sorry, with Venus in this eighth house, there's a lot that you can gain in terms of wealth. Remember that Venus is the significator of wealth. And it's here in this eighth house of shared resources, a money house as well. And so, depending on how Venus is placed in your chart, this can really be beneficial for you. Venus can be a difficult planet for some of you with a Leo ascendant, but this could potentially give you some prospects, some gains coming into this week, depending on how things are positioned in your chart. But a lot that you can gain as far as wisdom, as far as insight that can really help in terms of your business and getting things moving forward. And this can increase your happiness from that 10th house of career. The moon is going to be looking over at that fourth house of inner peace and happiness. So there is a lot that you can gain out of this. But again, the home life can be a little bit empty or distant as far as your connection goes. You can find yourself very much focused on the work and the responsibilities coming into this week. Now, for those of you with a Sagittarius rising or Sagittarius moon, we're starting off this week with the moon in your fourth house. And so this can be a time where you feel a little bit more withdrawn. You are finding yourself connecting more to home and family. And you can find yourself gaining a lot of happiness from this. And really, for those of you with a Sagittarius ascendant or Sagittarius moon, this becomes a great week for you to tap into your inner happiness, to find that peace and happiness in your life. There is a lot, though, that can shift and change in your home environment. Some of you could be traveling in terms of your work life, or you could just be traveling in your mind. Remember that this fourth house is originally connected to the state of mind, and so is the moon. There's a lot here in terms of your ideas, your thoughts, your feelings that can shift and change during this time. But a lot of peace that can be integrated from going within and looking inward during this time. With the moon here sitting in this home life, a lot of you needing to retreat and to go into your sanctuary. From there, the moon is going to shift over into your fifth house. And so there is a lot of creative energy that you can pull from during this time. You can find yourself working through projects. Again, a lot of insight that you can pull just from being in your sanctuary and being in that place of retreat there in the fourth, and coming through from that is a lot of creative energy, a lot that you can put forth towards your projects and your goals moving forward during this week. From there, it is going to aspect over to your 11th house. And so you may find yourself collaborating with others or pulling ideas from others, or simply having a bigger vision in terms of the projects and the creative goals that you have for yourself. From there, the moon is going to shift over into your sixth house. Again, a lot of creative vision and inspiration that you can pull through during this week, especially with Scorpio controlling that 12th house. A lot of you have very deep insight. From there, with the aspect over to the 12th, you do want to be a little bit careful of your health. The moon coming into your sixth house can make you crave sweets. It can make you a little bit wishy washy and changeable in your actual day to day routines. So you want to be careful coming into this week. But again, a lot in terms of inspiration that you can pull through from others. You could find yourself getting some insight from elders, from elder siblings during this time. You could find yourself getting some insight even from teachers or people that are higher up during this week. Now, let's go ahead and shift forward into the earth signs. And so, if you are a Taurus moon or Taurus ascendant, we're starting out this week with the moon in your 11th house. Great position. A lot of you can acquire a lot of gains coming into this week. And so, this becomes a really great position for a lot of you. Now, of course, you want to pay attention to some of the things happening into your chart. Jupiter can be a little bit of a difficult planet for some of you, but coming into this week, there's a lot that you can gain and acquire, a lot of support that can come in with the moon there in that 11th house. You could find yourself surrounded by people who are wanting to help and support you to nurture your vision, your goals. And so this could be a great time for teamwork and collaboration. This could be a great time for pulling on insight, really connecting with others, pulling through different ideas during this time. And from there, the moon is going to be aspecting over to that fifth house. And so there is a lot that you can gain in terms of recognition, in terms of achievements and accomplishments, a lot of luck that can really come from this position. Now, as the moon shifts back into your 12th house, some of you may be retreating or relaxing after these goals and accomplishments that can come through early in the week. So you might find yourself a little bit more retreating into yourself, going into this place of deeper introspection. You want to make sure that you are focused on your goals and commitments coming into this week. There can be a little bit of a feeling of escape or wanting to go somewhere else as the moon's shifting into the 12th. And so there can be a little bit of fluctuation here where there can be even some restlessness, some anxiety, some depression that can come through as the moon is such an emotional factor coming into this 12th house of the subconscious. And so there can be a lot here in terms of needing to work through some internal issues, needing to reflect a little bit coming into this week. But you don't want to retreat so much that you are neglecting the things that you need. The moon is going to be aspecting over to that sixth house of your daily routine, of your health. And so these are important things to keep into consideration as you're coming into this week. From there, the moon is going to end up in your first house. And so this is a time where you can become more empathetic, more understanding. The moon is exalted in your sign. And so this is a very special place. For a lot of you, this can be a great time where you can have a lot of great inspiration, a lot of great success, where you achieve a lot of great things during this week. Again, a lot of you are going to get this overload or this support. And then coming into that place of retreat, these two things, balancing this out in the proper way can really give you some great results. But especially, you find yourself getting a lot of good results through your partnerships. This is a Venetian sign, and this is aspecting over to your seventh house of partnerships. And so there's a lot that you can gain in terms of insight. Remember that K2 is going to be sitting over there in your seventh house as well. So there's a lot that you can gain through the wisdom and insight of other people in your life. Now, for those of you with a Virgo moon or Virgo ascendant, we're starting off the week with the moon in your 12th house. I'm sorry, in your seventh house. And so there's a lot here in terms of gaining things through partnerships, a lot of understanding, and you can find others understanding you more, being more empathetic, more compassionate towards you during this time where a lot of people are wanting to support you, a lot of people are wanting to give you that insight and understanding. And this can be very difficult for some of you. The moon is a little bit of a difficult factor. There's a lot here in terms of how willing are you to accept this help. The moon, of course, is controlling your 11th house. And so the moon can be a little bit fluctuating for those of you with a Virgo. ascendant, where you're looking more so for the logic, for the details. But you can find yourself really getting a lot of emotional support. And so it is important to accept this support that is coming through for many of you during this period. Now, from there, the moon is going to shift over into your eighth house, where your relationships can get even deeper as you're starting to have these connections, as you're starting to gain this support. You can even gain a lot through others during this time. You want to be careful, though, in any sort of joint finances or shared resources, there can be a little bit of a fluctuation. You want to make sure that you're staying on top of these things coming into this week. And so you may need to address your partner to communicate more with your partner coming into this week with the moon there in the eighth house. But this can be really a time for deeper connections, deeper understanding. But you can find yourself in a lot of change and fluctuation also that can help you to transform on a deeper level. And this can in turn bring you some wealth. From that position of the eighth house, the moon is aspecting over to your second house of your fixed assets. A lot that you can acquire through these deeper connections and deeper understanding with others, whether this is work related, this is a marriage, whatever the case may be, really talking through and expressing your feelings over how these things should be dealt with and planned accordingly in these connections can really help you to prosper and gain a lot during this week. From there, the moon is going to end up in your ninth house, where you may feel yourself wanting to learn a little bit more, wanting to connect more with teachers, with guides. There can be a lot of insight that's coming through at this time. This could be a really great time for writing, for teaching, for anything that is dealing with communication. Any of these fields can do very well as the moon shifts over here in the ninth house. This is aspecting over to your third house of communication. So you could do very well with pouring your emotions into some of these different careers or activities that or along the lines of writing or communication. This can go very well for some of you. As the moon shifts into the ninth house, though, you also want to be careful of your beliefs changing and fluctuating and being very emotional over your beliefs. As the moon comes into the ninth house, you can be very reactive as others are criticizing or putting down some of your belief systems. And so, for some of you, you want to stay solid and grounded in your beliefs no matter how others are reacting or responding to some of these things. This can become a very sensitive area for some of you. Now, also, Venus is going to be exalted there in your seventh house. And so, this is an interesting position as Venus is coming into the rulership of this seventh house for you. This can be a little bit of a difficult placement. Venus is ruling over a Marca house for you. And so, even though Venus is also ruling over one of your Trachona houses, some of you can have some difficulty over family during this time. You want to pay attention to your connections to your speech, how you are communicating things. But ultimately, this can help you to get closer to understanding, to finding solutions to problems, to gaining some knowledge and support at this time. For those of you with a Capricorn ascendant or Capricorn moon, we're starting off the week here with the moon in your third house. And so this is a really great time for communication for many of you out there. You can find yourself more emotional, more expressive with the moon sitting here in the third house of communication. A lot of ideas, a lot of opinions that are flowing through more easily for many of you with a Capricorn ascendant. The moon is going to aspect over to your ninth house. And so this can help you in terms of your writing, in terms of your expression, in terms of wanting to learn and connect with others. There's a lot of insight and knowledge that you can pull through at this time that really can help you master yourself. From there, the moon is going to shift over into your fourth house And so, after all of this stimulation, this information, this conversation that can happen, some of you may be looking to retreat, to go inward into your sanctuary, into your happy place. And so, this can be a very relaxing and comforting time as the moon shifts over into that fourth house. But you also want to focus on your responsibilities. This could be a time where you are looking more into your happiness and the things that you depend on, and that can really put a damper in your career life. Remember that Aries controls your fourth house, where you can be a little bit impulsive in terms of the things that bring you happiness and joy. Some of you can very much be dependent on things. So you want to be careful with this position, as the moon is a very emotional planet. But for the most part, this can bring you a lot of peace and happiness as long as you are staying focused on the things that matter, the things that can get you your accomplishments and achievements in life. From there, the moon is going to shift over into your fifth house. And so you may feel very connected to children if you have them. You can feel very much connected to your creative side. This can be a great time to experiment and to do things with art or music coming into this week. For those of you who are more creative, you can really tap into this. But with the moon controlling this fifth house, this really becomes such a great time to express yourself from that rulership of the third to the fifth, with the moon transiting through these houses. This is such a great time to tap into that creative energy for those of you with a Capricorn moon or ascendant. Also, Venus is going to be in your third house. So, again, singing, artwork can be a huge part of this week for many of you. So, this could be a time where you're feeling more creative, where you're looking to write a story, to work on a poem, to sing. Anything along these lines can go very well. This could also be a great time simply just for expressing yourself. With in that third house, your communication style can be a little bit more polite, a little bit more charming with Venus there. And so you can really grab the attention of others during this time. And this can really help you to accomplish some great things. That ninth house of wisdom and philosophy aspecting over to the third, a lot of self mastery that can happen during this week for you. Now let's go ahead and shift into the air signs. Starting off here with Gemini. If you are a Gemini ascendant or Gemini moon, we are starting off this week with the moon in your 10th house. And so a lot of you are going to be focused in on your career. And this is a great time for you. For a lot of you with a Gemini moon or ascendant, you're very creative, very talented, with Pisces controlling your 10th house of career. And so this can be a really great time to use those creative gifts to tap more deeply into it, as the moon is a very emotional planet. This can help you be a little bit more creative, a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more able to tap into that feeling side that can really make an impact on others during this week. From there, the moon is going to aspect over to your fourth house. And so some of you may need to sacrifice your happiness or your comfort a little bit to explore new avenues, to make some shifts and changes in your career. This can really help you to grow and to reach a new level with the moon here in your 10th. From there, the moon is going to shift over into your 11th house. And so, again, there's a lot that you can gain, a lot that you can experience. Some of you can be meeting new people and can get a lot of support from others as they're seeing your accomplishments, they're seeing your hopes, your dreams, and wanting to support this vision. This can be very good for a lot of you with a Gemini ascendant. Now, you want to be careful though, because the moon is a functional malefic for those of you with a Gemini moon or ascendant. The moon is controlling your second house, which is a Marca house. And so you want to be careful. The moon can potentially bring you some negative results. You want to look at, where is the moon in your chart and how is the moon being aspected. All of these things can really take effect for those of you with a Gemini moon or Gemini ascendant. But from there, the moon will be aspecting over to the fifth house. And so there's a lot of success, a lot of gains that can come through, a lot of joy where you're able to really creatively express yourself and collaborate more with others, show others more of your creative abilities and your creative goals. And this can really bring in some gains and success into your life. From there, the moon is going to shift back into your 12th house, and so again, there's this focus here on creativity, on inspiration, on tapping into your dreams, your vision, your subconscious during this time. And so this could be a really great time to journal, to jot down your different ideas, to utilize this towards your creative goals and your visions. From that 12th house, the moon is aspecting over to your sixth house of your work life. And so you can do very well in your work during this time by really tapping into your inspiration, your creativity. Bring forth those ideas from your subconscious and applying this into your work life. You do want to be careful, though, in terms of your health. With the moon back in your 12th house, you can find yourself a little bit more anxious or a little bit more energetic where there can be some difficulty as far as sleeping or relaxing. The moon's a very changeable and emotional energy moving back in this 12th house of your bed pleasures also. So you want to make sure that you're getting the proper rest, that you're taking care of your mental health, that you're not burning yourself out with all of this changeable energy and all of these tasks that you're focused on coming into this week. Also, with Venus controlling that 10th house, this is such a powerful combination for many of you. With Venus controlling that 10th house and the moon moving through your 10th, 11th, and 12th, a lot of creative opportunities that you can tap into. And so you can find yourself more creative, more friendly, more expressive, and people more so accepting and gravitating towards you as the Venus becomes exalted here in this 10th house. Very powerful position for those of you with a Gemini moon or Gemini ascendant. Now, for those of you with a Libra ascendant or Libra moon, we're starting off the week here with the moon positioned in your sixth house. And so this becomes an interesting time where you can see some change and fluctuation in your work life, in your daily routine. And so this could be a time where you want to stabilize some things in your actual routine. A lot of things can sort of change and fluctuate. You can lose track of things during this time. So you want to stay focused on those goals in your life and make sure that everything is in order the way that it should be. You could also see some fluctuations in your health. Be careful with sweets and certain changes that can happen in your routine that can affect your health as well. From that sixth house, the moon is going to shift over into your seventh house. And so you can find yourself wanting to connect more with others. You can find more so, though, that others are wanting to connect to you. So you can find a lot of support, a lot of comfort in others, a lot of more deeper, more meaningful connections coming through during this time. So this can be very good for you as you're coming into this week as others are wanting to support and connect to you. You could do very well in business coming into this week where you are able to connect more so with others on that level. Or this could simply just be a normal relationship where you're just getting to connect at a deeper level. But the moon here in this seventh house, from there, the moon is going to end up in your eighth house. And so, as we reach the end of the week here, you can see a lot of changes and fluctuations happening. Again, you want to be careful with your health, with the moon starting off there in your sixth house. That eighth house does get into deeper health complications. And so, any sort of difficulties regarding health, you want to make sure you're taking care of that earlier on in the week. But from there, as the moon comes into the eighth house, this really is prompting you to go through a lot of deeper emotional changes and fluctuations. You can have some emotional difficulties that come up, and working through these things can really help you to grow. Also, with this position, though, You can gain a lot through others. The moon is facing over to your second house from the eighth house. And so you can acquire a lot of wealth through others during this time through your connections. You want to look at where the moon is in your chart, though, because this could potentially negatively affect you as well. But for the most part, connections, your work life, your business, your gains can do very well during this period. Now, also, again, you want to be careful of your health. That's another thing that continues to keep coming up for those of you with a Libra moon or Libra ascendant coming into this week, as Venus is going to be shifting over into your sixth house in its exaltation. And so this could be a time where you're more attracted to sweets. This could be a time where you're more attracted to comfort in your life. And so you want to be a little bit careful around this area. But for the most part, this is a great time where you can see a little bit more ease and comfort in your work life moving forward. Venus is your chart ruler. And so Venus is definitely going to help to give you some great results in this area. Now, for those of you with an Aquarius moon or Aquarius ascendant, we're starting off the week with the moon in your second house. This can be difficult where you could see some potential fluctuations in your wealth. You could potentially lose money quickly, gain money quickly. You can see this back and forth, up and down happening in your wealth. And so you want to be careful about any sort of desire to splurge or to put money out coming into this week. This can be a good time to really preserve and save things as you're shifting into this week here, and especially with the Venus also in that second house, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. But from the second house, the moon is going to shift over into your third house. And so you could find yourself being more expressive, more creative coming into this week, a lot of ideas and inspiration coming through that you can communicate effectively, that you can connect. And so this can be a really great position for business as you're coming into this week. You can really do well with actually learning and teaching in this exchange of ideas, as the moon will be aspecting over to your ninth house of your teachers and mentors as well. So, this could be a very good time for you to just bounce different ideas off of different people, where you can learn different things. You can teach other people different things coming into this week. And this can be a very creative and productive time for you. From there, the moon is going to end up in your fourth house. And so, after all of this business related things in your life that you're working on, that you're progressing through, this can become a good time to relax coming towards the end of this week, where you're retreating more inward into your sanctuary, where you're relaxing more. This could be a good time to continue working as well coming into this week, you do have Taurus controlling your fourth house as well. So some of you could be doing very well working from home, working on your own. Remember that as we come into the end of the week, that the moon's going to be in the Mixtura Nakshatra, where this is about this searching or hunting and isolation, where you can get a lot of great work done in your personal sanctuary coming into this week. And this can really help your work grow from this fourth house. It is aspecting over to your 10th house of career. And so you could see some things take off in your business life, especially as a lot of you are very Martian in your career, as you have Scorpio controlling that 10th house of career. Now, also, as we are coming to the end of the week here on the 17th, Venus will exalt itself over here in your second house. And so you want to be a little bit careful in terms of your health. Venus is the significator of sweets, and it's coming into your second house of your food intake. And so this could be a time where you're more drawn to sweets. You want to be a little bit careful in this area, but for the most part, this is a great position. Venus is the significator of wealth. It's coming into your second house of fixed assets. And so there's a lot that you can acquire, again, from your career, from your work ethic, from these creative ideas that are coming through here. And a lot of your speech can be more creative, more business oriented with Venus here in your second house of speech also. So this can be a really great time of being more connected with others, more unified with others, pulling through these different creative ideas with others. Again, from that second house, Venus will be aspecting over to your eighth house of shared resources. And so you could work really well in partnerships coming into this week here for those of you with an Aquarius moon or Aquarius ascendant. Now we're going to end this here with the water signs. And so if you are a Cancer ascendant or Cancer moon, we're starting off this week with the moon in your ninth house. Great opportunity to learn, to grow, to expand upon your ideas. A lot of you can feel more of a connection towards a teacher at this time. And so this can be very good for you. And this is a time where you can expand your spiritual learning as well. So this can be a great time in terms of your spiritual practices, in terms of learning new things, in terms of really pulling ideas from people who have different skill sets and knowledge at this time. The moon will be aspecting over to your third house of communication. And so you can find yourself wanting to communicate more with teachers, with guides, with people who have different experience and skill sets that can really help you level up in your career. From that ninth house, the moon is going to shift into your 10th house of career. And so you can see some career changes that take place where some of the beliefs or knowledge that you're pulling from can really help you make effective changes in your career life. The moon is your ruler. And so the moon, of course, is always going to give you some really great results depending on how things are configured in your chart. But the moon is usually going to help you pull through. And so as the moon comes into your 10th house of career, great time to level up in career, to make moves, to make adjustments that can help you to grow and expand in this area. And this can really bring you some peace and satisfaction in your work life as well. From that 10th house, the moon is going to be aspecting over to your fourth house of your inner peace and happiness. And so, a lot that you can sort of take off of your load, off of your workload, and make more effective changes and choices that can really help you to grow and expand in this area. From there, the moon is going to end up in your 11th house of gains. Great position. The moon is exalted here, and the moon is your chart ruler. This is a very lucky position. And for those of you who even have this position in your chart, this really is going to activate this area in a huge way, where you can receive a lot of gains from your career life. You can receive a lot of recognition from your career. Things can go very well here in this area. From there, the moon will be aspecting over to your fifth house. And so, a lot of creative ideas, again, that you can pull through from others. You can find yourself receiving support through elder siblings, or simply just having this big vision, this big plan that comes through during this week here. Now, Venus is also going to be exalted on the 17th in your ninth house as well. So, again, a lot that you can gain from your teachers, from your guides, from those who inspire you, who give you this knowledge and skills that you can use and implement in a practical way. Venus, again, is aspecting over to that third house, which is very practical. That's that original house of Gemini, where we use our hands, we use our skill sets. And so this is a really great time for you to tap into new skills, tap into new abilities that you learn and gain through your teachers or your guides or those who are inspiring you coming into this week. For those of you with a Scorpio ascendant or Scorpio moon, we're starting off the week with the moon in your fifth house. Very creative, a lot of juices, a lot of inspiration, a lot of knowledge that is really churning inside for a lot of you coming into this week. And so, this is a great time to tap into different ideas, different visions, different things that you want to accomplish. The moon is facing over to your 11th house of long term gains from that fifth house. And so, this is a really great time to pull that creative inspiration and to really manifest some big results. And for some of you can see some big changes and results that can benefit you in a big way coming into this week. Remember that for those of you with a Scorpio ascendant, the moon is one of the most beneficial planets for you. And so this can pull through a lot of great results coming into this week here. From there, the moon is going to shift over into your sixth house. And so you can see some changes in your workflow and your work life. For some of you, you want to make sure that you are on task, that you are moving forward. You can see some things sort of fall off or some attention that is moved away from your focus, your commitments. So you really want to stay focused in this area as the moon brings in that fluctuating factor. But for a lot of you, you have a lot of aspirations, a lot of knowledge, a lot of vision that you can bring into your work life that can really support you in a big way coming into this week here. You want to be careful of your health as well. There can be an attachment towards sweets or towards things that are very pleasure oriented. So you want to be careful coming into this week as far as that goes. But for the most part, this really brings you some great results. From there, the moon is going to shift over into your seventh house. And so, as we move forward here into the seventh house, this becomes a great time to connect with others, to relate to others. The moon's a very emotional planet, sitting in its exaltation of your seventh house. This can be very good in terms of your relationships, whether this is business oriented, a marriage, a friendship, whatever the case may be. You can find yourself being more social, more open, more emotional coming into this week here. So this can be a great time for you to grow on an emotional level in those connections. Now, also on the 17th, Venus is going to be positioned in that fifth house. Very beneficial for those of you with a Scorpio ascendant. Even though Venus is a very difficult planet for a lot of you, as Venus is sitting in this Trachona house in its exaltation, this really can give you some great results in terms of wealth, in terms of accomplishments. Venus is looking over to that 11th house of your gains. And so there is a lot that you can accomplish and achieve in terms of recognition, in terms of wealth that can happen during this week also. Now, lastly, for those of you with a Pisces ascendant or Pisces moon, we're starting off the week with the moon in your first house. Very emotional, very sentimental coming into this week here, where a lot of you can be very much in your feelings. You can feel more sensitive, and this can be a good time to connect with others. The moon is facing over to your seventh house of partnerships as well. But for the most part, a lot of you can feel yourselves going through some changes. You can feel a little bit more sensitive, more emotional coming into this week. You can be more connected to your thoughts and ideas that a lot of you were able to pull through from last week when the moon was back in your 12th house. Now, from there, the moon is going to shift over into your second house. And so be careful here. You can see some shifts and changes in your finances with the moon here in this second house, you can also see some fluctuation in your eating habits as well that can cause some problems in terms of your long term health. So you want to be careful in this area. Remember that for a lot of you with a Pisces ascendant, Aries controls your second house. So you can be a little bit impulsive in this area. You want to be careful with this. But this becomes really great for business where you can become more emotionally involved in your business, more driven, more focused in terms of getting things done coming into this week. And lastly, the moon will end up back in your third house where you can be more expressive. Again, a lot of self expression coming into this week where you can be more creative, more idealistic, more connected to others, more so looking to collaborate with the moon here in this third house of communication. But from there, the moon is going to aspect over to your ninth house. And so you can do very well in terms of writing, in terms of any sort of acting, performance, creative work, even something business related where you're pulling through inspirational ideas that can really create some changes in this area. You can also find yourself drawing on a lot of inspiration that you can teach to others. The moon from this third house is aspecting over to that ninth house of teachers and mentors where you yourself might be a teacher at this time, or you might find yourself communicating more with teachers in your life. Also, on the 17th, Venus will be exalted in your first house. And so, this is a very special placement coming into this week here where you can find yourself very much more compassionate, more empathetic with Venus here in your first house, more relatable, more friendly. You can find people more magnetically drawn towards you, more so appreciating you coming into this week. And so this can be very good for you as well. Now, that was your weekly horoscope for March 8th through March 14th of 2021. Again, I will be coming out tomorrow with a video on this new transit of Venus as it comes into its exaltation of Pisces. So I hope you all enjoyed this. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like as well as a comment. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell. If you're interested in learning Vedic astrology more in depth, I do have a course available in the Facebook group, Astrology Lessons with Daquan Jones, and on the Patreon page. I will let you all know when the entire course becomes available on Udemy. But if you're interested in checking that out in the Facebook group, all of that information is down below in the description along with the comments. If you have any questions or concerns that you'd like to add, if you resonated with this video, feel free to leave all of that down below. If you have anything that you'd like me to talk about in terms of Vedic astrology in future videos, let me know as well, and I will get to that in a future video. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.